Hello YouTube, and welcome to part 12 of our Realism Overhaul series. We'll go ahead and load our game, and the first thing we're going to want to do is head over to the tracking station and switch to our new launch site in Kerbal. Alright, let's head to the VAB and start working on this first communication satellite. First things first, I'll go ahead and load the Delta. That's been the workhorse of our operation. And let's go ahead and modify this little satellite probe up here. Let's take the fairings off. We know we're not going to need that science equipment, so we'll take that off. But what we are going to need are some antennas. One antenna that we have there only has a range of 4 million meters. And I kind of did some quick math in my head and came up with the fact that we need four antennas for this mission. Instead of just having them all point straight up, I'll kind of angle them a little bit to make them look better. There we go. And let's go ahead and put our fairing back on. Well, actually, before we do that, let's double check our engines and see if there's any upgrades for these. So we'll open this up, and you can see there's this little plus next to tech level. Open that up. So what that does is it actually upgrades the engine. It's the same engine. We should check these RCS thrusters too, but somehow it's more efficient. So I don't know exactly how that works, but it's new technical. So now we're taking a look at our avionics, and we can see that we were over the limit, so I just reduced some fuel. That way we weren't over the limit. We wouldn't get any mass limitations when we tried to activate that stage. I think it'd be nicer if this wasn't just attached by the engine. Maybe we can put some struts on here. So we'll grab 4 of these guys and bring them down to the base. And I'm actually noticing, looking at our Delta V budget, I think that took like 50 meters per second. Yeah, just those strut bases weigh so much that they're getting into our Delta V budget. So maybe I'll just use 2 of them. I don't know. Yeah, let's just try 2. That should take away, I guess, 25 meters per second. That shouldn't make or break us. And I feel like that looks a little bit more legitimate to have some struts on there rather than it just be attached by the engine node. So let's put our fairings back on. And while we're checking engines, we should probably check these at the bottom. Let's open up the GUI, and this is an upgrade. Looks more efficient. We'll grab that. These guys, they have an upgrade. That's pretty cheap, 150. So we'll go ahead and grab that. That's more efficient. And I think we actually get longer burn times with these. Let's try to close this window. There we go. All right. So looking at my first engine, I think it has, rated time of 2 minutes and 10 seconds. And right now it's only burning for 144. So I'm gonna see what I can do. These windows are always like stuck together. There we go. Alright, let's go ahead and make this tank a little bit bigger, and that will increase our burn time. And we're trying to get it around 2 minutes and 10 seconds. So, alright, that looks pretty good. Maybe we can just add a little bit more fuel in one of these sections. Okay, right there, 2 minutes 10 seconds. And just double check the bottom. Alright, that looks good. So now this stage has a 5-minute 50-second burn time. So 550 minus 210 would give us 340, I think. So it looks like this bottom stage isn't even filled. So that takes kerosene reduction. We'll go ahead and throw that in there. That boosts our time up a little bit. What did we say it was? Here, let's just go ahead and remove these engines. That way we can get the stage by itself. Alright, there we go. So that's at 551. I think we need a 550, so that's actually really close. Group those stages together again. Alright, I think that's alright. Let's take a look. The bottom looks pretty good and lined up. Well, it looks like this launch tower is pretty close to maybe clipping those solid engines. Maybe we can move that around. Maybe we can put it up there on that second stage. Just one of them. That looks good, but I forgot that we're actually using that as a fuel pump for that center stage, so we probably just got to put it close up here to the top. That should probably be pretty good. Looks like that might clear, so make sure that fuel pump's enabled now that we moved it around. It is. Alright, that's good. I guess we'll go ahead and call this the Delta B. I mean, it's pretty close to what we had before with just some upgrades, so call it the Delta B. Actually, this is for remote check, so let's do a remote tech comsat, and we'll make a sub-assembly for the bottom, for like the booster part, and call that Delta B. So let's open up sub-assemblies. We've got a section for booster, which we haven't saved anything in here since we upgraded to 1.1. Go ahead and take this whole node. There we go. Drop it in there. Attach it back. And oh, we did it sideways. Okay, let's just go ahead and rename this to Delta B. Save this guy. Come on and save. There we go. Fix this guy. That looks better. Let's put our fairings on again. Alright. Now I think that's looking pretty good. Alright, let's build it. And it says, hey, you're not going to be able to launch this thing, but that's just because our launch pad isn't upgraded. We know that already. Alright, let's see what we can do about speeding up the build speed of this guy. Let's go to upgrades. Well, actually, let's see how long it's going to take to build before we buy anything. So this would normally take 463 days. Looks like our launch pad will be done around 200 days, so let's drop some points into here. Maybe 5 points. We got to leave some money in case we have some failures. Now, what does our time say? VAB says 231 days. Maybe we'll buy one more. Alright, now what are we at? 210 days, that looks pretty good. Now our launch pad's going to be done 112 days since we spent some points, so it'll be done sooner, but that's okay, it won't hurt. Go ahead and warp to completion. And roll this thing out. Alright, let's launch. Alright, I think I'm going to use ascent guidance for this. Let's check our ascent path. Oh, that looks pretty good. I guess we'll go ahead and throttle up, engage autopilot, and ignition. Alright, no failures on the launch pad, so we'll go ahead and release the launch clamps. Nice gentle ascent. We got a sea level thrust to weight ratio initially of around 1.2, so that's pretty good. And in a little bit we'll start to pitch over. Alright, now we're pitching over, and one thing I forgot is that I actually want to take my fairing stage and jettison those fairings right after my boosters are done. So I'm gonna make a new stage, and now you'll notice actually on my Delta V stats it's gotten messed up. Now there's like an 8th stage, but I'll drop this down and then I'll hit spacebar and that sort of clears that out. It always makes me nervous trying to stage after I move stuff around to clear that, but it just seems like a bug, and you gotta do an extra stage. I don't know why. But from this point forward, I think we're probably gonna have a normal launch, so I'll go ahead and speed this video up. I'll probably slow things down right before we jettison our booster rockets. I think it'd be kind of cool to actually kind of watch from behind us and watch those 4 boosters as they separate from behind. So let's go ahead and go back here. And now we're 2 seconds, 1 second, and those engines have cut out. So let's go ahead and separate. And here come the boosters. I'll try to line the camera up so we fly right by one of these guys. Alright, that's pretty cool, I think. You might not think it's cool. I think it's cool, but whatever. Alright, let's try to get this guy into orbit. So now's probably a good time for me to explain why I went with 4 antenna. The one we're using has a range of 4 million meters. We know that the radius of the Earth is around 6 million meters, and we're going to be orbiting around 3 million above that. So let's round that up to an orbital radius of 10 million meters. Now, real quick, I forgot to look for contracts, and so I opened that up and I saw that there was a science from space, so I went ahead and did that. It's free money, right? So anyways, we'll round that up to an orbital radius of 10 million meters. We have 4 satellites, and we know that they're going to be at right angles, so we can use Pythagorean theorem to calculate the hypotenuse. A base and leg of 10 gives us 10 squared plus 10 squared, which means our hypotenuse is the square root of 200. But instead of taking the square root of that, we can just square our proposed antenna ranges and compare them. So 3 antennas would have given us 12 squared. So that would have been 144, which is short of 200. 4 antennas is 16 squared, or 256, so that's well within range. So thinking about it now, I probably could have done half that since our ranges are double due to the fact that we'll have the same antenna configuration of the target satellite, but I really didn't think about that till now. So looks like we're going to have plenty of delta V. I'm not too worried about it. Alright, here we are in a nice circular orbit, just right around 200 kilometers up in the air, so I like this. Now you can see on our orbit info we added latitude and longitude. Latitude is going to be the most important, and I'm just going to disable that real quick to save on my electric charge. I'm going to want to deorbit that. But latitude is the most important because we're actually going to use that to figure out where we're going to do our transfer orbit burn. So since we want to do an inclination change at the equator, and we want to be going slow inward at the equator, what we're going to do is do our transfer orbit burn. We're just going to burn prograde right around the equator, and that'll push our apoapsis to the other side of the Earth, right along the equator. So we'll go ahead and initiate that now. We're going to try to push our apoapsis up to around 3 million meters. So it's climbing pretty steadily right now. And then once we get there, we'll coast the other side of the Earth. So let's go ahead and do that. And over there, we'll try to perform both our inclination change and our circularization burn. So I kind of got to guess at what angle we're going to want to go. If we just go prograde, we won't do any inclination. Looking at the map, we are going north. We're heading up north, so we want to burn slightly south. So maybe 145 degrees would be a good heading. We'll try that. So we'll set pitch to 0, change our heading to 145, and then we'll kind of get a little bit closer to the apoapsis before we start trying to orient to this. So we'll go ahead and just time warp over there a little bit. And this is going to be tricky. We're going to have to watch periapsis rise while watching our inclination. We're getting pretty close. We should probably start pointing to our heading. Why are we pointing prograde? I don't want to go prograde. Execute. Okay, it's starting to move. Okay, there we go. And now our throttle's stable. Let's go ahead and get close, and let's fire it up. Alright, we can see our inclination is going down. That's good. Our periapsis is rising. Looks like it's going to be pretty close to happening at the same time. I do need to save some fuel for this guy to deorbit, but we got 1400 meters per second of delta V. I think we might hit our inclination first, so I'll just kind of hover over this and click 0 whenever we're get the right inclination. Alright, let's go ahead and 0 it out. Oh wait, oh no, that pointed us north. I gotta go, no, oh wait, there we go, heading 90. Just cut the engines. I think that's right. Heading 90, pitch 0. That's what I wanted. Alright, let's try to adjust real quick. If we had a computer doing this, this wouldn't be an issue, but right now I just gotta do it by hand. And I don't have any maneuver nodes yet, so it's kind of frustrating. Alright, let's raise our periapsis up. Our inclination is less than a degree. We can probably fix that manually, so it's probably good. I want to save some fuel to deorbit. So let's go ahead and work on that. Let's run through a mental checklist. We're going to want to point retrograde and then enable RCS. That'll spin us in the right direction, settle the fuel. Then we'll want to separate sort of halfway through that. And let's make sure this is enabled. There we go. So retrograde. Let's enable RCS. We're starting to spin. Our fuel will stabilize. Once we separate, we'll need to kind of move the probe out of the way. So we can use RCS to do that. Alright, let's switch over back to this guy. Enable the engines. And we're still spinning. Hit retrograde, retrograde. Okay, here we go. Alright, this guy's burning retrograde. You can see periapsis is lowering. We have 600 meters per second of delta V left. I think we're gonna get rid of this guy. That's good. It's nice to be able to deorbit space junk. So, alright, atmosphere, and we'll definitely hit the ground now. Yeah, we had plenty, so this is good. This is a good design. I'm glad this is working. Now, normally I'd just go to the map and use that to switch my satellite, but I can't even hit the bracket key either, so I just gotta go back to the Space Center because for some reason, I guess my stuff isn't upgraded well enough for me to be able to switch vessels while in orbit. So go to the tracking station, we'll go to our remote tech comsat and fly this guy. Alright, now let's go ahead and make a few adjustments. We're going to point this guy prograde. Now I'm going to try activating the engine, but I'm hitting Z and nothing is happening. We'll control from here, that looks right. Still nothing's working. Why is this engine not firing? I thought this was going to work. Sometimes there's a bug that I've noticed where I just need to leave the vessel and re-go into it. So let's go back to the Space Center. Tracking station, RT comsat, fly. Alright, let's try doing this again. Let's find our little satellite here. I hate flying in the dark. Alright, here we are. Hitting Z, X and Z, nothing's happening. Let's try resetting the avionics. Alright, activate. This is not working. I can use my RCS thrusters. I'm hitting H for that. You know what? I bet I know what it is. Remember how we added those struts and then our delta V number went down and then we took some off because we didn't want it to go down too much? Well, the only reason it went down is because this added mass. So let me see if I can open up MechJeb and double check the mass of our vessel. Yep, sure enough, here we are. Vessel mass is 0.202 tons, so that's over our mass. So luckily our RCS thrusters work so we can bleed some of this off. This is actually pretty close to my orbit, but I do want to change my inclination and bring that lower. So let's spin around here. Hey, unlocking controls. What do you know? I can use my thrusters. So fire that up. And inclination's coming down. Alright, that's pretty close. Let's make some fine-tune adjustments. Alright, inclination 0.003. I think that's pretty good. Now, let's try getting into a better circular orbit. I think I'm actually going to warp to where I'm right at like 3 million meters. And here we can try to... Actually, let's go radial and arrest our rate of fall. Alright, there we go. Now we can start pointing prograde. And kick out the engines again. Just boost our orbit just a tiny bit. Alright, I think that's pretty good. So let's look at this contract over here that we had. And sure enough, everything's checked on the first one. So next time we'll work on getting the rest of these up there. Until then, see you next time.